Hey guys, welcome to Rotting Flesh Movie Reviews. I'm your host Billy Pop doing my best Fred Durst impression. Yeah! John Otto! The most ferociously original horror film of the year, raved Stephen King back in 1981 about Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. The movie starred the man with the chin, my hero Bruce Campbell. Oh, you dirty bird. So when I was 9 years old, I went to my best friend's birthday party. He had a movie called Army of Darkness. All my friends and I watched it twice in a row. We were blown away. It was funny and it was scary. Now, I want to be forward that yes, I did say I watched my first horror movie when I was 10, not 9. And I do believe this to be true because there was so much comedy in Army of Darkness that it was hard to find it frightening. However, 5 years later, my dad's best friend asked me if I'd seen the two films before Army of Darkness. I went, "What?" He lent them all to me. I was home by myself, and I pressed the play button.
Awakened us from our ancient slumber. You will die like the others before you. One by one we will take you.
And inside my little 13-year-old heart, I was like, I got him, 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 I got him. Okay, so the movie follows Ash Williams, his girlfriend Linda, his sister Cheryl, and his best friend Scott, and Scott's girlfriend Shelly. They are all in a car headed to a cabin in the woods for a nice vacation. Once our cast makes it on the trail to the cabin, the whole movie takes on this super ominous vibe. It's probably one of the most tense feelings I've ever felt in a movie. There is no music, and that is what makes for the uneasy tension. At one point, Cheryl is drawing on her little paper pad when something takes over and she begins to draw this weird picture of a brick with a face on it. Then, right in front of her eyes, the cellar door begins to rise and fall as if someone in the cellar is trying to get out. How she didn't start freaking out and wanting to leave at this point is silly to me. As the happy gang hangs out, the cellar door opens on its own. Cheryl thinks it's an animal.
It's probably just some animal.
An animal? An animal? That is the stupidest thing I ever heard of.
Wow, really? Scott's a dick. And I think it was actually a pretty logical assumption. Except for the fact that she fucking saw the cellar door moving before. Maybe she thought it was an animal back then too. Scott and Ash go down to the cellar and find a room where Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes poster is in the background. Oh, and there's also an old tape recorder and a knife that looks super badass and a book that's made of human flesh and written in human blood. But who cares about that? They take their findings upstairs and they turn on the tape recorder. The tape has some incantations on it taken from the book they found, which we find out is Naturon de Monto, or Necronomicon, or the Sumerian Book of the Dead. As the incantations are read, out in the woods something pissed off has woken up. Later on, Cheryl hears voices beckoning her from outside of the cabin. She goes out to investigate, only to get raped by the forest. She is locked out of the cabin and barely escapes the evil tree rapist's grasp. But our main man Ash lets her back in. My main man. Cheryl begs Ash to take her back into town so she doesn't have to stay the night. She does explain that she was attacked by trees, but no one believes her. I have to say, way to make things a little bit scary. You can't even trust the trees in this fucking movie. Ash begins to take her home, but once they get to the bridge they have to cross, they come to find out it has been somehow destroyed. Back at the cabin, everyone is being merry. Ash is once again listening to the tape recorder, Scott is chopping some wood, and the girls are playing some cards. Except Cheryl, she's being possessed and attacking her friends. They manage to get the now completely insane Cheryl locked in the cellar. It conveniently has a chain on it, but not before she stabs Linda in the foot with a pencil. Ash puts Linda to bed, and he and Scott discuss leaving. They all decide to stay till morning. Shelly leaves to go get changed or something, and gets attacked by the entity outside in the woods. Scott and Ash hear her scream, so Scott goes to look for her. She ends up attacking him, now also possessed by the spirits in the woods.
Thank you. I don't know what I would have done if I had remained on those hot coals, burning my pretty flesh. You have pretty skin. Give it to her.
Now I gotta say, by the time the movie got to this point, I was shitting my pants. And I kept saying things like, no way, really? And I can't believe this. Yes? Wow, guys, definite change in lighting, huh? I had some company over, so it's later on in the day. Scott eventually chops Shelley into pieces. Ash isn't the most badass, wisecracking guy in this movie, but he's awesome nonetheless. Scott tries to convince Ash to leave with him to find a path in the woods. Ash tells him that Linda couldn't even walk if she tried. So Scott leaves without him and comes back later after getting tree raped. Meanwhile, Linda has been possessed, and Ash is being driven nearly mad by his possessed tormentors, as is the audience. Eventually, Scott dies, and we get a bunch of scenes where Ash is trying to bury Linda or cut her up with a chainsaw. Either way, he is alone in a cabin in a forest full of trees that rape people. All his friends are either dead or possessed by demons, or the entity in the woods is making the window shutters open and close, fills light bulbs with blood, and all sorts of crazy shit. Ash ends up throwing the book into the fireplace, and this seems to keep the demons at bay. We also get some real dope stop-motion animation. The movie ends with sort of a cliffhanger. As Ash leaves the cabin, the entity in the wood comes directly through the cabin straight at him. We close with Ash's screams. That ending kind of tied up loose ends, because the whole time I wondered, why is everyone getting possessed but Ash? Seemed kind of odd. The Evil Dead was directed extremely well. The camera angles were never boring, almost every one experimental. The sets were grimy and the lighting was deadly. The only way to explain the lighting is that it was like the rooms were being lit by an extremely bright single light bulb. Even the scenes outside, which made it seem like the only semi-safe place was within that tiny bit of light. The writing here is awesome. This is because as your protagonists die, your antagonists grow. It was paced well. Even though at times it seems really slow, the slow scenes seem to help the suspense. This is truly one of the more frightening movies of the 80s. The acting in this was really good too. Even though it seemed campy at times, it totally works for this world or environment they're trying to portray. All the women did a great job at being terrifying. They themselves added so much to the movie that there is no way it could have been the same without them. And Bruce Campbell, well, being how me and my friends use his name as a moniker for their word good, that is really Bruce Campbell. I'm having a pretty Bruce Campbell day. Have you tried this new weed? It's really Bruce Campbell. I'd say the acting was pretty wicked. The characters, on the other hand, are hit and miss. All the girls were good while possessed, but Linda has the most irritating voice ever beforehand. Shelley didn't seem to get many lines. I think out of the girls, Cheryl was the best character. Scott was a good character, but in real life, I'd probably hate him. Ash in this one is not badass at all, but I think it really works because he is more terrified in this movie, and that really helps the flick feel scary. The dialogue is pretty bad, unless it's the demons talking, which they nailed pretty good. Ash had a couple good fucking lines too, actually. The effects in this were balls to the wall, man. Seriously. Lots of good gore, stop animation, prosthetics, gunshot wounds, twitching dismembered limbs. Fuck yeah, guys. The music in this was very minimal but extremely effective. I can recommend The Evil Dead. And if you haven't watched it, I not only recommend it, I demand you see it. There's not much bad I can say about this movie. I give it 9.5 out of 10. The movie is nearly perfect. That Magic production.